My life and political thoughts as a tarot reader who thinks YouTube wants to know what the hell I'm thinking. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Antiques Tarot. So, today we are going to read my thoughts that I wrote out and titled George Lucas Taught Me What School Failed to. The quote is from Padme Armidala, 20 years before the rebels will blow up the Death Star. And her words are, "So this is how liberty dies," to thunderous applause. She says this as the Galactic Senate gives Chancellor Palpatine the powers of an emperor. Frequently, she is misquoted as saying, "This is how democracy dies." But the quote is about liberty. Liberty is freedom, liberation. Democracy is the ability to vote. They are not the same thing. Capitalist colonialism has done a great job convincing the West that freedom and liberty is defined by democracy, but it isn't. Democracy is the ability to vote. For many of us, it is only to vote for a leader or representative to promote the interests of our region in government. We are told they represent us, but frequently they tell us that we don't get to say how they represent us. In other times in history, democracy has meant you vote on the policies and decisions of daily life, but we have far less say in these modern times. We have far less democracy. But as I said, democracy isn't freedom. If I am voting for who will oppress me next, how they will steal my land, and under what terms they can lock me up, this is democracy, but I would argue it isn't liberty. This confusion between liberty and democracy is one that keeps us complacent and uneducated enough to welcome fascism as we usher out liberty, all to thunderous applause in senates around the world, not actually among the people, but also this is how George Lucas depicted it. Our education systems have us believing that fascism is an invading force that will come for us in the night. In reality, it typically arrives through democratic means, first with enough citizens with the legal ability to vote, and then by those they voted for, making the necessary, if any, changes within their government to support fascism. Fascism usually sees its leader becoming a dictator or emperor, but this isn't necessary. Just often preferred by the types of leaders who are fascist. The fascist leader might even keep democracy. Letting you all vote with hope every 4 or 5 years is a hell of a placebo. You can vote in fascism, Nazism, you can even vote for a dictator. What you can't do is vote out fascism or dictators. You have to eradicate it. Believing you don't need to fight fascists or dictators is a disrespect to many of your own grandfathers and great-grandfathers who did fight it. Go tell those ancestors they caused too much violence and accelerationism, and that everybody should have just stayed at home voting, waiting for the UN to be dreamt up and created, because, they've been so effective. What is fascism? Do I want to go on a side tangent? Maybe I do. The empire is the United States, right? And that was represented by Palpatine. And but there's layers to it. There's always layers to it. The Galactic Senate also is a representation of the UN. It's all representation of many republics and federations and other governments where both sides are so firmly planted in the middle that they're useless. And that uselessness of maintain the status quo, maintain the status quo, maintain the status quo. And if you listen to me before, you know that's what liberalism is. Liberalism is not the left, it's the status quo. The center is actually the status quo. So it moves wherever the Overton window moves. And when the Overton window moves to the right, so does the status quo, right? So when that becomes absolutely useless, because fence sitting is always useless, people get fed up. And they're like, we have no way to fix this. We're trying to use your system, but you're so bothered trying to keep both sides happy that you're useless and you're not stopping anything. And so we're fed up, and we're done with this. We're separating from the Galactic Senate. So Palpatine, who's like, this is my future empire, you can't take some of it away before I've even turned it into my empire. Oh wait, I could use this to turn it into my empire. He then funds the separatists and gets a bunch of like greedy capitalists, to convince them that they're for the people and going to help them out, and funds all that, and secretly has one of his apprentices lead it. Like it was authentic in its origins, but it became a proxy war, right? And when it becomes a proxy war, the people supplying your weapons don't ever want you to stop. So because they're making money off of it. So if they're making money off of it versus just, if they're making money off of it, they don't want you to stop, right? Until they got what they wanted out of it. So then everything comes into play and is well set up, and Palpatine can take control, and the war ends. And look at me, I ended the Galactic War. I'm the greatest person of peace. Give me all the power ever. And that is how the Empire is born, out of this this peace. It was a fake peace. The people who were fed up with being in this useless, galactic republic were like, now we're in an empire. And then the people who were happy with the status quo were like, oh, finally we're not at war anymore. Even though most of the war up until the end didn't hit home, right? Most of it stayed in the other parts, away from the core, right? Like away from the western center of the world. And so, a lot of similarities there. And it's not that George Lucas predicted the future. It's not that Tony Gilroy predicted the future when he wrote Andor and they all acted it out, before 2023 even started. Before Trump even got reelected. They didn't predict it. The writing was on the wall, right? We know how it works and it happens, but despite knowing that, our schools, our education systems keep misleading us because they want to hold on to that power. Because you're not experiencing the liberty you think you're experiencing. You're just experiencing democracy. Okay, back on track. What is fascism? Fascism is nationalism with militarism, self-sufficiency, and totalitarianism. The totalitarianism is what happened to your liberty. The militarism is the physical control, and the nationalism is the moral control. And self-sufficiency is about funneling as much wealth as possible to your leaders, because this, who's going to be a fascist, right? To your leaders. It also reinforces the nationalism, the moral control. It's like religious control, but in a shopping mall to better accommodate the gods of capital. The tariffs Trump started, they punish the local populations. And I say Trump started because, retaliatory tariffs. They punish the local population to institute the self-sufficiency through economic force. The self-sufficiency is both poorly named and misleading. Really, it's just economic control of the population. It can be about what you buy, but it can also be about how you buy it and what is allowed or forced for you to buy. As money and ID become electronic, that control about what you buy and if you can buy is increased. And the gods of capital in the temples of the shopping mall have you convinced that if you have many, many, many choices, you're not being controlled. But that's not true. You're controlled because you don't actually get to choose what it looks like or where it comes from or how it's made or the ethics and the morals of it. And so many other things. This happened in Star Wars via their ID systems and credits. In some parts of the galaxy, the credits of no value. Devalued money often occurs within fascism, somewhat because the leaders have ego issues that make them want control, have all the money, be super rich. Currently, the USD is strong, which is unusual under fascism, but frankly, several analysts think that Trump is going to devalue it with crypto. The problem when Padme declared this is how liberty dies is that many at the time saw no issues. Safety, a promised end to war, was all worth what was occurring, except an end to war required super heavy military investment and sudden use of the military on the people. At the time, it was to deal with the separatist threat, and anyone with separatist tendencies was a threat, although its leaders were given redemption. Often more so than those who were questioning the new situation. The fascism wasn't instituted across every system equally. Some systems suffered more than others. Eventually, however, ID, tracking your money and purchases, and control over shitty credits was the new norm everywhere. Boycotts work because they attack the self-sufficient nationalism. Don't buy from Israel makes them weak. That's why we have BDS. Don't buy American. It will make them weaker. But also, the solution isn't go buy Canadian, go buy British. You're just begging for your own fascism that way, and it's coming. Buy from everyone but, so buy Palestinian hummus, French taro, Egyptian cotton, and Mayan chocolate. Acknowledge this is fascism, totalitarianism, oppression. Make nationalism a dirty word. Remind people nationalism was the N in Nazi. Speak it over and over because fascism hates truth. And a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, but there was the socialist part. Okay, so the socialist part was like telling everybody working class, and also socialism is like the status quo between communism and outright capitalism, right? Like Canada is a socialist country because we have free healthcare and welfare system, but like it's still capitalism. It is still capitalism, right? It's just a facade, and nobody in Canada would actually be like, oh yeah, we're a socialist country, unless they're trying to be like, we are not the Americans. Like, socialism was a compromise to not become communist. We don't need to be communist. We can just do some basic welfare stuff. That was like FDR's deal too, right? Okay. All right. Fascism hates truth. Take risks every day. When shit hits the fan and some soldier from your own military is about to snatch your mom or your sister, you will let them. If you are risk adverse, you will let them. How many times have you seen ICE snatch someone while their family watches crying and filming? They do so afraid that if they are taken also, there will be no one left to free their loved one. Unfortunately, that's what those in control want us to believe. And it might be true. The result is our loved ones are snatched in terror and left wondering, why didn't you fight for me? Why did you let them take me? I don't say this to be mean. I say this so we know whatever side of that situation we might end up on. And I say this because your loved one will feel that forever, because it will hurt your feelings if, unless they get therapy for your abandonment. It's a psychological warfare on purpose. And part of how you can fight against it is practice not being risk adverse. Practice taking risks. Practice belittling authority. So when it's time, you don't freeze in fear and self-preservation. Now, take smart, educated risks so you're actually still around when it's needed for you to take the big risks, but practice it regularly in small ways. Okay? Look for people being oppressed by cops and stand up for them, even if they seem like they are suffering from a drug addiction and you don't know what's happening. Exactly. What's happening is authoritative control with carefully designed reasons. Be the person who cared, who spoke up and said, what's going on here? Do you need my help? Looking at the person who is being oppressed by authority for whatever reason. Reasons and laws and excuses instead of morality is how we all got here. All right? Get others involved. You can stop cops. You can stop military. Watch some revolutionary movies. I love Star Wars, but please stream it via rebellious channels and not via the Empire. Watch The Matrix, movies where people oppress the system. Avoid Marvel, where America saves us, or War of the Worlds, where Bezotech saves us, or even Die Hard, because Bruce Willis is a cop. I know, I love Die Hard for the holidays too, but we need to influence our minds towards the belief that we save us. All right. I feel we could use some cards to help with that. Let me get them. It has to be Star Wars, right? Okay. It's just going to be 1, 2, or 3. You're still choosing Star Wars. You're still getting a Star Wars reading. But what aspect of it do you need to listen to? All right. So reading number 1. Choose your number, folks. 1, 2, or 3. I don't know. Do people need something else? Let's see. Fluorite. Rose quartz. Oh, some adventuring. This adventuring is actually river smooth. It's the best piece we got. Whoop. All right. 3, adventuring. 2, rose quartz. Number 1, fluorite. Okay, so these are all from my life up north, up in North Hastings. All right. If you chose number 1, the fluorite, you have been asleep. Just been asleep, and you're the epitome of this reading. You're working hard, just trying to get through it, head down, but it's coming for you. It is coming for you. And if you're in the U.S., maybe you go to No King's Rally. But either way, what you need to do is wake up and train. We talked about, that risk averseness. In your case, wake up and physically train yourself and your body. You might need it out there on those protest lines. Okay. So other protests as well, since that one came to mind for some folks locally. But train your body for it, so you're not a sitting duck if you're kettled, so you're able to do banner patrol and protect other people, different things. So you're able to do it. Okay, rose quartz, folks, number 2. 9 of Cups, Ace of Wands, 10 of Swords. Rose quartz, folks, you need to spiritually wake up. Holy. And, perhaps your practices, if your practices are anything but Christianity, if you're watching this channel, wake up. Wake up on a spiritual level. Get your folks spiritually to wake up along with you. Be that leader and that spark, and gather in those community spaces. But the cups and the wands, this is a spiritual ending, and they will send their people after those you're hoping for, after the leaders you're hoping for and looking for, and to take them down spiritually, and you'll need to be able to fight back against that. But I think the Death card, the 10 of Swords, is reminding us that the time is heavy, and what you have will be fought to its end if you don't stand up. So, spiritual calling for some folks. Okay, adventurings. Holy. Adventurings got a jumper. So we're just going to keep drawing. Adventuring, folks. 6 of Wands is often read as a positive card by many, but it's the conquering of the Americas in the original decks. We have the conquering of the colonization of Mandalore, the conquering of it by Moff Gideon. And whoa, you're going to need to get your hands dirty. Stop being pretty and cute about this. Get your hands dirty. Get out of that costume and strap a weapon on and get your hands dirty. So different levels of approach for different folks in this one. And the shadow card for all of us is alternate galaxy. This is not the world we think we're in. It's changed. It's different. And it's all been reshuffled. You can't remake what was. Stop, please. From an anti-colonial perspective to like, just look what colonialism, settler colonialism is doing all over the place here. And like, stop trying to fix it and save it. Stop trying to save America or Canada. It's an alternate galaxy. You have to fight to make this one good. Not try to make it the disaster that it was in the other world. All right. See you later, folks.